and we're racing today at Northam. 7 events there. First event gets underway at 1:25. And pacing at Calaberan. They've got 8 events, and the first event to go at 12:44. And that means we've got the Shire Calaberan Central Week Belt Cup over the 2,130 metres is race number 6 on that card as well. 0427789571 Retrovision text line. One off it straight away. Mart, you've been saying GWS conditional. It looks like you're right. Well, I think they are.
Oh, gee,
I think they're short on stock a bit.
Yes.
You can't lose Toby Green in the run the way they're going at the moment.
No.
But I still think they're conditional.
And their midfield.
From where they were, Shorty. They were always unconditional for the last 2 years, I reckon, GWS.
Indeed. And they've, like sides have just, over the last few years, they've just continued to pick at them. You can't keep all of your top-end talent, and they've... I mean, that's clever from different clubs that have been able to just sneak the odd player or two, and before you know it, you've lost sort of 500, 600, 700, 800 games worth of experience, walk out the door 2 or 3 years in a row, and all of a sudden you've got the top-end talent sort of there, but there's not lots of them, and the guys underneath, you get nice draft picks, but they take 2, 3, 4 years to get to the level where the guys are that just left. So it's a challenging space for them, and I think will forever be that, to be honest, because they're not exactly a destination club. They're always going to lose players that are from other states that want to play in really big games of football, which I understand the lure of that. If you're a young fellow from Victoria, for example, and you're above average and you get a phone call from a club like Collingwood saying, look, we play in front of 80, 90, 100,000 regularly. We're going to give you an extra couple of $100,000 per annum. We're consistently in and around finals. How about it? It's a really hard thing to knock back.
You want to go live in Western Sydney? I certainly don't.
Well, look at Bobby Hill and the transformation of him as a player from when he left GWS and arrived at Collingwood. He showed glimpses of being a potential nice player at the Giants, but he has become an ultimate professional at Collingwood. He lives for the big moment now. Won the Norm Smith on the biggest stage of all. Team player. Got leg speed that has made them so much better as a football side. So he's just one example, but every year they seemingly have get rated, and it's hard to continue to keep up the battle when you're losing players of a good standard year in, year out.
Now, good mate Bluey, he's a beauty. He said, can you read the waffle scores out? Okay, Blue, we'll start off with the important game over at Leederville Oval. West Perth 8-7-55, East Fremantle 13-16-94, West Coast 9-6-60, Perth 14-14-98, and Subiaco 10-4-64, Claremont 11-10-76. So there you go, Blue. Big win to your Sharkies.
Well done, Blue. Have you got a recap of the WA Day score there from the South Freo, East Freo game,
week.
Marty?
I might be able to dig that one up, Shorty. I've got it somewhere here. What about this one, Blue? 4-3-27 to 10-21-81. Could have won by 100 points.
I'm sorry, Bluey. You left yourself open for that one.
Now,
but good morning to you. It's great to have you.
This is a talking point, Shorty, and it's going to be, and we'll talk to Brad Hardie about it between 7 and 7:30, but is Stewart for Geelong in trouble with his bump? If he's in trouble with that bump, get rid of the bump and just make it non-contact.
Forever. Correct. There was no high contact. There was no head high contact.
That's where you want to go with it. If that's where you want to go with it, AFL, well, make it now and put us all out of our misery because we know it's coming.
Outlaw the move. Outlaw the manoeuvre.
It's a beautiful bump. Nowhere near his head. He's probably not even injured at this stage from listening to what Hardwick said after the game.
Geez, it split him down the middle, didn't it? Oh, he knew it rocked him.
Well,
it rocked him.
It's a combative sport.
It is, and it's still legal. So people are, there are a lot of people on social media, which is a cesspool for it, but the amount of people, dog act and you low animal and all this.
Are you kidding me?
And I'm not joking. I am not joking.
He could have knocked him into next week if he wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. If he wanted to go higher and really, it was to the letter of the law.
My goodness.
A very, very fair bump, and the bump is still legal. So, look, I know Noah Anderson's a pretty tough player, and he would have slept well last night, but. As you alluded to, there was no high contact. The player hasn't gone off with concussion or any of those things. I think at the end of the day, the fact that there's even any spotlight on it is frightening, because it only takes one or two of the do-gooders in at headquarters to go, you know what, that's not really a good look for our game, and it could absolutely go down the wrong path. And to be fair, in recent times, and I understand the legal ramifications of some different parts, and they need to be shown to be looking after the head, but the head was not in danger in that particular act. So I'm with you. I think if you're going to outlaw that and rub him out for that act, just come out and say we're banning the bump.
Yep. Just doing it. So what we've got to do is get Greg Swat in before they do that.
Absolutely. Don't let it happen.
And hopefully Swatty's already on the phone saying don't do that.
And to be fair, players that go for that particular move understand that if they get it wrong, they're in trouble.
Yep.
So there's an element of risk associated with the bump now. You know that if the player happens to get to a different angle than what you're sort of planning for and you get them high, you're going to be out for a few weeks. But in this instance, none of that happened.
100%. Good to see Swannies kick back for Coxie.
Yes.
A lot of players back into that team. At team selection, I got a little bit sweaty because I was on sort of Richmond. It was interesting to hear Adam Uze say worst performance of the season for Richmond. And,
yes.
And that was after a good start. They led at quarter time. So it wasn't as if... And it wasn't as if Richmond came out breathing fire because of getting belted up in the media for the last few weeks.
No.
Richmond got away to a decent start, but I think what you see with all those inexperienced kids in that team, they're going to have these ebbs and flows.
Correct.
And when... I did blow up a little bit on radio about it yesterday. Can you just teach kids from an early age to put a bit of value on kicking a goal? Just respect the importance of 6 points.
Yes.
Because it just annoys me. They just miss goals and just walk off like, oh, well, that's okay. I've got another $200 in my pocket. I'll just back the lose. I'll keep betting.
It's crazy.
Just give it some respect.
4-12. And it's not isolated to this game of football.
The whole lot.
All season. And when finals in particular, where shots on goal become even more valuable, it is so imperative that you make the most. Midfielders, defenders that work their backside off to get the ball and lower their eyes and get you into the right space and get you a shot on goal. There's nothing more...
deflating.
That's the word I was looking for players that have worked their backsides off to get you to the ball in the right spot, to then watch you blaze away and out on the full or point and you think, oh.
You know the first thing they do? Start pointing to where everyone else has to be on the ground. You notice that?
It's a set play. It is. You can take it to the bank. It's $1.10 every time it happens. Unbelievable stuff. But yeah, you're right, and it will continue to be important. And one side that I've got a really high opinion of, but they do need to work on their work inside the forward 50, is the Western Bulldogs. They can be wasteful in front of the big sticks, so that's something they really need to work on. Yeah,
agree with you 100%. And in that game, particularly the second quarter, you just saw Sydney's confidence levels grow, and then a little thing happened, and another thing happened, and I said, they're going to get moving in a minute. So it can be a little turnaround point. I had a look. They had a few players coming back. Fox played limited minutes in the twos, so they just need to get one or two more back. Remember, we discussed this earlier on the season. We're about to get to James Sullivan. But you've got to watch teams, say, like GWS, that keep losing a player here, a player there, and a player here, and it's the reverse when they start coming back.
Indeed.
Because Sydney had so many good players out.
Yep.
They got 5 players back in one hit. But then I get another one, and then another one. Then all of a sudden...
In a month's time, you look and go, they're pretty close to where, they're full
where
fitness
we thought
again.
They'd be at the start of the season.
Yeah. The one thing, though, I will say, the win was good, but it's a game that they really should have probably been winning. And further to that, goal scoring is still an issue for them. So yesterday, they scored 11 goals for the match, and James Jordan and Chad Warner scored 5 of their 11. Like, that's not a long-term solution to a forward setup when you've got your tagger and a midfielder kicking half your goals effectively.
They need a big force. So if they want to go Kerno or one of these players, that's what they need. They've done it over the years and it's worked for them. They need to go back and do it again.
Indeed.
James Sullivan's online. We're talking NRL. Good morning to you, Sul.
Hello, Marty. Hello, Shorty listeners. I tell you what, Marty, it does my head in too when they miss kicks. That's your profession, you buffhead.
Yeah.
Kick the goal.
Yeah.
It seems such a, and I understand that, it's hard when there's 80, 90, 100,000 people there watching and that the pressure and all of those things come into it. But for the rank and file, surely there's time to just spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, however many hours a week, if you're a forward 50 player, just shots on goal. I'm always saying to my young guys that I work with, so stick to the basics. But the more shot goal that you can do and put yourself under game pressure, turn it into a game where if you're a loser, you have to do 10 push-ups or 20 push-ups so that there's something on the line and the kick means something each time you have it.
Yeah, and it's, I'll use the parallel with the NRL. I'm big on my lads. Pass the football. Pass the football as many times as you can, because that's what we do in rugby league. So, yeah, no, it's something that really does. I tell you what, though, boys, what a round of rugby league we've had. Haven't we had some high shooters go, hey, I'm up and about.
Oh, so you're entitled to be excited. I watched the minis on a couple of these games, and the Broncos-Titans game's the one I'm going to take you straight to, because they turned up last night in the all-black strip, and some of the play was just dynamic. It was as good as I've seen from a side in some time. Their passing was elite. Their big boys were just absolutely charging through. Karapani went bang, bang and scored a couple. And then Reece Walsh late in the game, a little bit of icing on the cake there. But the Broncos at full tilt playing to that level, it's close to as good as I've seen so far this season when they really release the chains and get going like that.
Well, they were due. As we know, they'd lost 6 of their last 7 going into last night, and it was a big occasion. It was Adam Reynolds became number 55 to play 300, and, we know how good a player is. And the jumpers are actually for the Black Dog Institute, so for mental health and suicide and everything. It was wonderful. And I tell you what, they really did look like a different side. But as you say, Shibasaki started it with a double early, and Karapani and Walsh. And I said to the boys on Thursday morning, Reece Walsh, will he be the spark plug for this Brisbane Broncos side? Oh, my God, spark plug. He revved them up like a Mack truck, Marty.
Well, they just need to go on with it now, though. What about the Titans? Where's it put them?
Under a lot of pressure. Yeah, and it's a real... I said to a mate last night, he was asking me, how long's Desi Hasler going to last? Well, he's going to last, because the bottom line, who's going to take... Mate, it's a poison chalice, the Titans' job. It really, really is. You got such a high-profile forward at the moment who's cleared to play. I'm talking about David Fafita, and he doesn't want to play. What? Doesn't want to play?
He didn't want to play.
I don't want to play.
You must be joking.
Give me a spell. But, there's problems there. There really is. But as I said, who's going to take the poison chalice? Because it's mate, you watch the name Kevy Waddles will pop up in a couple of weeks, and he probably might take it next year. But I can't see Desi going anywhere until the end of the year.
Desi, Kevy.
Oh, that's a headache, isn't it? It's a headache either way. Let's go to the Warriors-Sharkies clash, and a big win there for the Warriors, 40-10. Now, again, watched the mini and got a little bit of the post-match here, and it was all about the big fish. They wanted to give massive props to James Fisher-Harris, and the discussion post-game was how much he has added to this outfit, the professionalism that he's brought with him, and it is clearly rubbing off on many of his teammates.
Well, we've seen it at so many other clubs. You come out, the Panthers players that have been signed, and they have delivered at every club they've gone to thus far. James Fisher-Harris is another one of those. He wanted to go home after, as we know, a number of years at the Panthers. And, mate, this Warriors side now has won 6 out of 7 on the road in Australia. That's where you got to win. The bottom line is, mate, 12-10 at half-time last night. I thought, the Sharks were awful in the first half. Absolutely atrocious. And they trailed by 2 points. And I thought, here we go, they're going to get a roll on. But this Warriors side said, don't forget us. 5 second-half tries. And as you mentioned, James Fisher-Harris, very, very big. But another boy, he took a year off this Chanel Harris Tavita. It's a real perfume name, isn't it? It should be an aftershave. Chanel Harris Tavita. He scores 2 late tries, mate. He was outstanding. Young Metcalf again. Oh, I like this kid, mate. To hear Sean Johnson say that is the most complete performance in our history from the Warriors, that's a pretty fair rate.
Yeah. Yep, agree. What about the Dolphins? 56-6 Dragons. Your man Herbie Farnworth kicked it off with a try in the 10th minute, and he finished the game with a try in the 79th minute. He bookended it.
10 tries, and this is what we look at this Dolphin side. We know what they can. Geez, they're and I tell you what, book your tickets for Saturday in a couple of weeks. I think it's the 21st. How good would it be to watch these boys in Perth, at Perth Oval? 10 tries, though, as I said. The last 2 games, they put 44 on the Bulldogs and they put 56 on the Dragons. They're going good, aren't they? Geez, they're good to watch.
My goodness, that is an absolute drubbing. 10 tries, if you don't mind. And the conversions, 8 out of 10 for Jermaine Azako. That's a big night at the office, converting and kicking really well. And we talked about the importance of kicking in AFL, but it's very similar in NRL. Sully, in the big games, it can come down to 1 or 2 of these conversions, and 8 out of 10, you take that most nights.
Oh, it's massive. And that's the thing. And it's that same scenario. You practice it because you come down to finals footy and some of these games, 2 points is 2 points. That's the first time the Dolphins have scored 50 points in their history. We knew the handover to Christian Wolf. I thought it was always going to work well because Christian Wolf's been there the last 2 years since they started under Wayne Bennett. So they started a bit lumpy, but gee whiz, we know how exciting, mate. They've got a halfback, boys, young Isaiah Katoa. He is just such a talent, this boy. Such a talent. So they've done well. They've locked him up, so we can't grab him for the Bears in 27.
Okay, we'll go to Friday night because we covered Thursday night with you on Friday on Drive. 38-14 Storm, and I always love it when the big Nelson gets over for a try in the 58th.
Yeah, I'm a big Nelson fan. I tell you what, I wish we'd seen more of it. Toddy Payton gave one of the great halftime sprays.
Did he?
He was at the right place. Craig Bellamy lives there, don't forget. But, yeah, mate, it was a Jerome Hughes masterclass. It really, really was. And I tell you what, we missed you on Friday, Marty, because our try-scoring double got up and our little plays, both plays got up Friday night. So I'm very happy about that.
Good on you. Keep our punters in money. That's what you've got to do. So let's do it today. What's the story? How are we going to play it?
I'm excited today. I really am. It's a big day. And, boys, we've got a maximum of 5 in Canberra. So it's a 2 o'clock kickoff. I'm not joking. It is
a what?
Maximum of 5.
Wow. I hope you've got...
I can guarantee you, GIA Stadium, I think I've told you this before, it's the coldest ground I've ever been to in the world. And you walk down about 16 steps into a bowl and come kick off at 2 o'clock. God bless. I've got to call the New South Wales Cup at 4:15. It'll be -4. But this game, how good will this be today, though? The Raiders have won 8 of their past 9. The big papa, makes big Joshy, breaks the record. It's sold out the game, and it comes up against the Rabbitohs. Now, the Rabbitohs, they're not going too bad. When you look at where they're sitting, Shorty, it's been a great year, I think. Some say they've overachieved. They've got all the big boys back today. Jack Whiten back against his old club. He loves Papa, so he wanted to be there. He's there. I think this will be a very tight game of footy. And with the cold conditions, I don't think much will separate either side. I'm going to go the Raiders on the back of that 8 from 9. They're going well. But yeah, I'm going to play the 1-12 Raiders, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, so the Raiders 1-12 in that first game there today. Punters, if you're looking to get involved in that space, we're looking at $3.15 at the moment. So that's a pretty nice start to our multis there this afternoon. Canberra to win by 12 points or less, $3.15. And so take us through what we're doing with this second game. It's the West Tigers, $3.55, Penrith, $1.30, line betting 9.5, and all the money's been for the Panthers to cover here. The -9.5 to win by 10 or more is into $1.80. Similar with game total, the punters have decided they want the under 46.5. That's into $1.80. The over's out to $2.
Yeah, it's a fascinating game, this one, because we're just talking about the Panthers and ex-players, and you've only got to look at the West Tigers with Taruva and Luai. Luai comes up against his old mate. You know, they had an 87% winning strike rate, Luai and Cleary together. So, and Taruva up against To'o. That's the big ones I'm really, really looking forward to. I think the Panthers can win. They kickstart their season last week, no doubt. But they're back at Combank. It's West Tigers' home ground. It's Panthers' home ground. So it's taken them a while. Same scenario. I don't think much will separate these boys at the end of the day. So I'm probably looking at that 1-12 again.
All righty, so we'll go with Penrith to win by 12 points or less, $3.05 as it sits right now if you're looking to get involved with that particular play. That's the Sunday double. Penrith to win by 12 points or less at the 3.05. Into Canberra to win by 12 points or less, $3.15. Whack the two together, $9.61, Sul. Absolutely.
We'll have a little play there. And as you know, there's another game tomorrow to finish. We've got a public holiday over here, and it's the Bulldogs hosting the Parramatta Eels. They reckon they'll get 70,000 there tomorrow, which, as we all know, guys, that's a massive crowd for rugby league. So I'm looking forward to this because of, you know, obviously near neighbours. It's a bit of a derby, so that'll be a good one too. So I think we play. I'll go the head-to-head, just the three sides: Raiders, Panthers, Bulldogs. 262. And then there's that little one we just said, the 1-12. We'll do that. That's our Sunday play. And, Marty, just for you, I know you love a back rower. You love to see the back rower scoring. I'm going to have a play today, #12. So the number 12 for the Raiders, Zach Hosking. The number 12 for the Panthers, Liam Martin. We'll get 12.73 for them to score a try any time.
Be involved in that. I like the sound of that.
Well, we're still alive. We're still alive with the Thursday. We need Bronson Cherry to score tomorrow, and if To'o, that'll, you know, so we're still alive with the Thursday bets as well. So
you're
that's
betting good form,
nice to go into the weekend.
Yeah, you're betting great form. You keep it up. Lovely to chat this Sunday morning, and we'll watch these. They're three great games to finish up on, really, aren't they?
Hey, Sol, too, just quickly before we let you go, any little whispers around about, well, we know Big Mal's moving into the big boys' seat, but is he bringing anyone that you know of yet as far as playing stocks go? Is there one or two players that are being whispered in your ear that might be gettable for the Bears?
They tell me Titans coach Tino Suamalawi is off contract, is very close to Mal. Mate, I tell you what, Big Tino would be handy, wouldn't he?
Yeah, certainly would, wouldn't he?
To lead the charge. So he's one. I mentioned young Katoa. We can't get in. There's a young boy playing for the Roosters, Hugo Savala. I'd like to have a look at him as a halfback, but I'm hoping to have a coffee with Mal on Thursday. So it'd be nice to just catch up, and he can ask me as many questions as he likes about the West.
And you can give us some feedback on Friday Drive. Thanks for that, Sol. We've got to get cracking.
Stay safe, boys.
Thanks.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on The Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Another quick one off that text line, and it does make a bit of sense. We certainly forgot about this one. Boys, Brisbane missing goals Friday night. Anyone would think they'd back the other team. It was disgraceful. It was quite amazing, wasn't it?
Indeed. Yeah, bad kicking, bad football. We keep saying it, and we'll continue to say it right throughout the course of this season, mate, and particularly in a season where it's a very even competition in many regards. There's a lot of tight games, and so often it just comes down to accuracy.
Kris Nelson's our man, and Kris, welcome along to Aftermath.
Thank you, Marty. Good morning to you. Good morning, Shorty. Just on that, Shorty, there wasn't too much closeness in the Tigers Swans game yesterday. I think we've had enough this year. Our young fellas have hit the wall already.
It's a big season ahead of them. No, you'll have those dips up and down. Yeah.
4-12 is something for them to work on, though, Kris.
Let it quarter time. You're up and about, and you just let the game slip. These things happen.
You can console yourself with those 3 premiership cups that you've got in your care there, Kris. So I'm sure that's enough to keep you consoled for a little while. Also, tipping winners and having great racing up there in your neck of the woods at the moment. It was an absolutely spectacular day of racing there at Eagle Farm yesterday. So many highlights, so many wonderful performances handed in throughout the course of the day. Marty, do we want to play any of these replays with with Kris this morning, or do we just go straight in and want to chat about it?
No, we'll chat about it because we've only got one replay. We'll save that up for Kris Lees for the Oaks.
Okie dokes.
This horse in the first, I just love her, Sunrays. I know you've sort of been with her all the way as well, haven't you, Kris? You like her by all bent?
Yeah, I do. She's an absolute winner. She just wins. And as I said on the preview yesterday with Nathan, she's the female version of Cool Archie up here. Everyone's always trying to find some horse to beat her, and she just keeps winning. And she only lost once, and that was a very good performance when she lost. So she's gone for a break now. She won't tackle the Atkins next week. She did loom up on the home turn beautifully into the race. So did Navy Pilot. But Sunrays just always looked to have something in the locker there. Tommy Berry just looked to have something there ready to give, and that was the case late. She was just too solid for Jenny Gone Bonkers, who took over into the straight. Navy Pilot, as I said, loomed, didn't finish it off. Providence ran on quite well. Nothing much from the beaten brigade. I wouldn't think he goes for a break, and she'll be seen again in the springtime.
Geez, it makes that Beedman form look good. I know we haven't seen him since he brained her, and she was good that day. But I don't know if how much of a fluke that was in the Ken Russell, but he won by 8.3 lengths. And since then, she's won twice.
And mate, so the form stacked up crazy good. And to be fair, I think that he could have probably won by a little more if they'd really wanted to release the shackles late in the piece. Well done to you, though, Kris. That was your best bet of the day. The punters got it early with Sunray. So it's always nice as a tipster when you can team up with a reliable horse that just fronts up and gets the cash, and Sunrays has been good to you and the punters. Another horse that's been very good on the way through is Front Page. It turned up yesterday in the Group 2 Moreton Cup, and I guess there were some question marks put up by some pundits in regards to where Front Page was after coming across here to WA, going around in the Quokka. Were they going to the well one time too many? Well, Matty Dale and Tim Clark will tell you this morning that no, they were not, because Front Page turned up with a really professional performance and took care of business there yesterday.
Yeah, he did. And look, it was a good, tough win. And as you say, Shorty, coming back from the Quokka, should they have sent him for a break? They didn't, and they made the right call, and he was too strong for Hidden Wealth late. Look, the first two basically fought it out right from the outset as we thought they would, but wow, was there a run here, and we all saw it. Warney, he really hit the line from last. And I know Nathan was talking this horse up. I think he's talked up a couple of times about a Stradbroke run, so you'd think that's where he's going now, the Stradbroke next week. He certainly goes in everybody's black book. He's run on from last in a race where they didn't go overly hard in front. So out of the whole meeting, you'd have to say he was the most impressive non-winner on the day, Warney. Spacewalk every possible. Lubrication ran last, led 3-month ban for it. But, I want to be on Warney wherever he goes next, maybe even next Saturday.
Marty, you mentioned this a few weeks ago when Pizzusto was up and firing, having star horses named after star humans. When they get it right and they name an animal that's got a very special vibe about them and matches up to a sporting genius, it's pretty special. And they might well have got themselves the right horse with the right name for this one, Chriso. Yeah,
I think they have. They can certainly put a spin on them, that's for sure. I'll warn you here. And next week, you might be able to do that. There's a couple of others running around under the names of Neil and Craig. I don't know who they're named after, but I suppose it leaves it pretty open. There's a lot of Neils and Craigs going around in our lots.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, though. This is an import. People probably don't realise this. And obviously the Poms named it Warney over there in England, but had its first 3 starts or 4 starts over, had 3 in the UK and a start in France before it come across here. And I've just got the feeling it could be one of these Kieran Maher slow burn jobs, and it's gone up there to Brisbane. It's just starting all to happen. It's a European, it's like an Australian 4-year-old, it's European 3-year-old. It's by Highland Reel, who, as you know, Kris, they're typically staying type horses, and it seems to be like sprinting, miling, 1400s, his caper.
Yeah, and what I also like about him now, Marty, is he's ticked that Eagle Farm box, and we mention it all the time, horses for courses at Eagle Farm, and he really handled it yesterday, and they were taking a little bit of the top off it during the day. So we don't have any rain forecast at all in the next 7 days, so it won't be any worse next Saturday, and it'll probably be in similar sort of condition.
On to race number 5, there was the listed UNU Recruitment Queensland Derby Stakes over the 1,200 metres, and Cosmic Fire pinched the prize here, Jamie. Gerringong was charging late, but it was too late, and Coleman was back in third.
Yeah, and look, Cosmic Fire is a horse that I liked, but I've just sort of forgotten about him. He's just flown under the radar here. I didn't think he'd run a really strong 1,200 metres, but he certainly did. He kept on going. He's got some good form lines. He ran fourth behind Spicy Martini first up. He's chased home Arabian Summer in a feature race at the Gold Coast. And, yeah, he was too strong for them late. Tempo sort of helped him, but Gerringong just got too far back again, as was the case a couple of weeks ago. But super strong late. He's a horse you definitely want to follow, Gerringong.
Okay, in the next race, and Tony Gollan's trying to get Transatlantic into the Stradbroke, and on the back of that, looking at his rating, so he's 99 plus what he gets penalty-wise for the race yesterday. He'd have to get in, wouldn't he?
He probably will, and there'll be some that will drop out.
Yep.
So he probably does. And
he'd be ahead of Warnie, because Warnie's only a 92 plus.
Yeah, he would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd rather Warnie in the race, but I'm certainly not knocking Trans.
Oh, I don't mind this horse. He's a pretty good darn horse.
He loves Eagle Farm. That's the key. And we saw that during the summer months. He just loves racing at Eagle Farm, 1,500 metres. He can go forward. Now, the official times here in the breakdown says they went pretty hard early, but the first 4 out were the first 4 home. So that might not be the case. We'll check that out later in the week. But, look, he was good. He dug deep. He was able to hold off all rivals here. Tabs had a lovely run, 1-1, loomed up on the turn to beat him. And Tony Gollan is always, every time you talk to him and you ask him about his horses, this one is up in the top 3 of horses he wants to wrap out of his stable. So should he get a start next week, he's not without a chance.
On to race number 7, the Group 1, Kingsford Smith, Carp over the 1,300 metres, and this was a win. Jolie Star, J-Mac aboard, defeating Zarastro, our Golden Mile back in third, Kamochi in fourth, but looked to be in a world of trouble and then just picked up and went on for a really nice win.
Yeah, and look, we mentioned on the preview yesterday, or I mentioned that I thought they'd be a little bit more positive with Jolie Star early and try and get into a prominent spot of some sort, because there didn't look to be a lot of speed on paper with Zarastro bowling along. Now, they didn't do that. I read in the paper this morning that they decided not to take her out of her comfort zone and ride her back where she was comfortable, and that was like 7 lengths off the lead at the 800-metre mark, and I thought she was in a fair bit of trouble. A couple of lengths closer might have been better, but, oh, wow. I don't know how he does it, J-Max. She's a terrific mare. She didn't handle the ground, according to him, but she was still able to get home over the top of them. So, terrific effort, Jolie Star. Brave as ever, Zarastro.
Wow, he was good.
The tempo was solid. Yeah, and she really got the Group 1. So, very exciting race, guys. Golden
Mile couldn't get past the Zarastro in the straight. That's what I liked about its run. The Oaks taken out by Yu Wang. Well, Tommy Berry, take your hat off. What a ride.
Yeah, everything worked out perfectly, didn't it, for Yu Wang, who just sort of ambled through between her rivals in the straight, and she looked to be travelling, whereas Panito had come deep from back in the field. So you reverse the runs, you probably reverse the result. But unfortunately, we can't do that, guys.
No, you're on Panito. It was a good tip. Well backed.
Killing me. I haven't watched it until this morning. I had to put myself through the pain again. But anyway, Benadryl was good. Held up, but just before the 300-metre mark was held up, probably costly, beaten just under a length.
Chris, if you look at that again, he's got the left-hand indicator on for too long. There was he should have just followed Yu Wang through. I know it's Mark Zara, I shouldn't be saying this, but I watched the replay a few times. I thought, well, what are you positioned? Maybe they thought the fence was off, but the winner come up there. He was right on the winner's back.
Yeah, I know. I suppose you've got to make the split-second decision, and maybe just Mark Zara would love that time all over again. But look, I don't know. I watched that last 100 metres. She was making ground. Whether she would have got past them in another 50 metres, I'm not saying she would have. Yu Wang was quite strong late, and Panito was quite strong late. Moving out was held, I thought, over the last 200 metres. Didn't quite ping to the line late. Philia just had to work too hard. First 600 metres was 3 deep, got to second, then under pressure in the straight. So, mind you, only 2.89 lengths between the first 9 over the line. So, a very, very competitive Oaks as we thought.
Indeed. And a boil over in the Group 1 Queensland Derby. It was Maison Louis getting the job done. Ryan Maloney for John O'Shea and Tom Charlton, 3-year-old son of Super Seth. Finished fourth there in the Rough Habit, beaten a couple of lengths behind Imperialist. But when the big day was there, this horse has turned up and delivered. Had stake money at just under 80,000 going in. So a absolute fill-up for connections there. And a big result. Runner-up was King of Thunder, and back in third was Chase Your Dreams. It was a novelty set that you would have liked to have had a little share of.
You sure would have. 21-12, 21-21, 16-19 before we got to the favourite running seventh. Maison Louis, look, he sort of caught the eye in Sydney before he came up here, winning or running well there. And then he went around in that Rough Habit, as you mentioned, Shorty, and he was one that was finishing off quite well late. I think probably thought maybe he just wasn't seasoned enough to win a derby quite as yet. Some of these other runners had stronger form lines, etc., but he was the one with the upside, and he was too good. Ryan Maloney rode him really well. It was a pickup ride. Ben Mallon was on holidays overseas, so he's missed out there. Ryan Maloney got his sixth Group 1. Chase Your Dreams ran on well. Belzatel was wide, just worked too hard before having to find the front. Statuario, the Muffin Man, Firm Agreement, all came through earlier campaigns interstate, were all flat. And I thought Deep Focus, the one I tipped, was pretty good. First round preparation was only beaten 2.84 lengths. So all honours to the winner, but again, a very close-up bunched finish.
I've missed the post-race. What did John O'Shea actually say about this horse? Because lightly raced, he's bred beautifully to get a trip and more. What did they say about him?
I think actually Ryan Maloney did say after the race he wasn't bred to get the trip. So I haven't heard what John O'Shea said.
Well, it's Super Seth, who's known as a sire of sprinters, but he's by done deal. So it gets you to High Shap, and then you got on the dam side Debarwi and Zabeel. Like, it was just beautiful breeding to get over ground.
We take out of that Ryan Maloney's no breeding expert then, Marty.
Well, nor am I, but he's a good jockey.
He's done what he's had to on the day. Let's not get too deeper than that. He's going home and looking at the bank balance and saying, I've done something all right there on a Saturday afternoon. Kris, who are the black bookers? And then is there anything for the punters for this Sunday afternoon in store?
Definitely. Look, there's not a lot of black bookers because a lot of these are run their grand finals now, so we won't see them for a while. But definitely Warney out of race 4 and definitely Gerringong out of race 5. And at Randwick yesterday, race 9, Headley Grange returned.
Gee, they had something on this.
That was a good win. Yeah, when he got that gap in the straight, he really picked up. I don't know if we'll see him up here, tail into the carnival, but he's a nice horse, Headley Grange. Today, we're at Sunshine Coast on a soft 7, I think it is at the moment. Anyway, we'll go with 2 here. Race 3, number 4, Double Whammy's a little bit short, but I think finds a very suitable race. And a mare that I love, race 8, number 1, Termagant resumes, and she's got a big, strong finish on her. So we'll stick with those 2.
Okay, just before you go, let's have a listen to the start of that race, Headley Grange, because our man Darren Flindell, he's a bit like Chucky Fowler. You know, he's had a bet.
For the all clear. There it is now. And they're off and racing. Oh, no. Wind Chat, the favourite's blown the start. Oh, that's that used to go on. No, that's a bad start for the favourite.
What's that used to go on?
I don't know what he was inferring. I do not know, but Macca and I were talking about it down the line.
I love Darren Flindell, but his cards are on the table. Nothing wrong with that. And I'll tell you something, Kris. You've been involved as a punter for a long time. Likewise, Marty the same. There's very few sicker feelings in the gut that you get than if you've had a bet on a horse and you see the lids go up and it takes a good 2 or 3 seconds before they wander out. And you
it's
think,
a bit hard when you're calling the race.
Oh, indeed. You can take that to the shredder and off we go. Beautifully done, Kris. Always great catching up with you on a Sunday morning. Appreciate your time as always. We will hear you on Wednesday morning with Timmy Walker and Digby Beecham on the Sports Daily. Until then, many winners.
Yeah, you two guys, looking forward to it, and have a great Sunday.
See you, Kris.
On the Aftermath, you are listening to Marty Young and David Shortte right here on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
And a very good morning to Racetrack, Ralphy.
Yeah, good morning, boys. We had what we could safely call a pretty basic off-season meeting, but I think the star of the day particularly once you're watching Eagle Farm and seeing what they served up there, was Liam O'Keefe again, because we had a lot of rain, particularly overnight, and then the track's basically played soft 6 at absolute worst. So if the horse weren't good enough, it was either tactics or lack of talent.
All righty, well, we may as well roll from the top. This was a benchmark 84 over the 2,520 metres. It was Daniel Moore aboard Muktamil, beating Bold Soul and Golden State Warrior back in third.
Yeah, field of 7 and 2 lengths between the first 4, half length between the first 3 sort of said it all. But having said that, I mean, these old whackers are sort of always going to remain competitive. Bold Soul was on the quick backup, Muktamil from a fast race at Sandown, and Golden State Warrior. Wouldn't want to go to war with Golden State Warrior. I don't know about you boys, but he's never far off. Samuel Langhorne's probably the one who's ready. Had a little balk there, was only second up.
Okay, Clint McDonald has been telling everyone Miss Olay is a stakes horse, and she got it done up the straight.
Yeah, and wandered about and significantly slower than Salsa Fellow. I'll explain why in a sec. But look, I reckon I've only black booked about 3 2-year-olds this season. It's been a pretty moderate crop, and this has been one of them from Sandown. I reckon yesterday it floated, it just screamed end of prep run, and I heard in the post-race interview that he's going to tip it out. So yep. I think it's got a lot more talent than what it showed yesterday. Espana gave a bit of a sight, and I think sound debut runs from Son of Kirk and also Expulsion that was first up both for the Freddie team.
Apprentices to the 4 in race number 3, the country racing of fillies and mares, benchmark 78 over the 1,400 metres. Fire of Etna with Jailer Kennedy claiming the 2, defeated Riverina Power, and Avebury was rolling along up top. It finished back in third.
Well, Shorty, dare I say, apprentices with the 4, and they went to the 4. And I'll explain why, because not a good ride. Logan Bates on Cindy Falls should have held his position, and he had a spot there right behind Silver Chief that was always going to, Silver Cliff rather, that was always going to go forward, and said he allowed himself to be completely dictated to. Dream All Day, well, that was a bit more forgivable. It was out the back from a slow start. I think both those horses are horses to follow, and I should have had it at the start. With the rail out 8 metres, you're always going to be advantaged by the on-pace horses, because that's where the lanes start, the best lanes on the track. So rail true, it's a different dynamic. Rail out, you don't want to be just wasting ground and going out wide for no reason. And both Cindy Falls and Dream All Day, I think, were the best horses going in, probably the best horses going out. Having said that, though, Fire of Edna was insane odds. It's a first-up specialist, and it got out to $19 officially and better bet elsewhere. So that was a horse that the market just got wrong.
On to race number 4, and this was the country racing Victoria Sprint over the 1,100 metres. Salsa Fellow for Decky Bates, defeating Soft Love and Supercilious.
Yes, and significantly faster than 2-year-olds, and not just from older horses and talent, but what happens in straight races, when they go to the inside, they go quicker, because everyone tries to get a position as opposed to up the middle of the track when everyone sort of saunters about and just jogs for the first half of the race. So they really put some pressure on here. Salsa Fellow ducked through on the best part of the track. It had good closing speed in its lead up. Soft Love, the equation was this for punters, and that's why I didn't want to take it, was its first 2 runs were dynamic, but when they go to Sydney and then come back again, it's always a query there. I think on talent, Soft Love was easily the best horse in the race.
Now, Kevin Daffy's only got one horse, and it's called Oh Too Good, and she's a winner.
Absolutely, yeah. We black booked it after its Caulfield run. Wasn't sure about Sandown at the time, and I had a real think about it. I thought, this is a horse who he didn't have it screwed down this time in, and yesterday it came to play, and he had a fit third up. Just stick with it. I mean, are they going to beat her next start? On a pure graph basis, it just exploded. It was super, 136.1 on a soft track, and Jimmy the Bear had no chance of catching it. Even if the rail was true, it wouldn't have caught it. Having said that, that was an insane price, Jimmy the Bear, because it just mapped horribly. Zero criticism, Tom Preble, when you draw outside. 9 of 9. I've heard Corey Brown previously say this. You'd rather have the outside barrier in a field of 18 than in a field of 10. And I get why, because you just sort of completely dictated to Regal Val too far back, but that's his pattern. So I think the first 2 can be followed with confidence, but if they matched up, I'd stick with Oh Too Good for sure.
On to race number 6, the Darren Gully Mile, and this was a statement when Taken just put a gap on them late. Bo Merton's aboard. Kachink runner-up, and Momets was back in third. They were both at pretty big odds, but all honours to the winner. This was a very impressive performance.
Yep, and after about 300 metres, I thought this is what's going to happen here because King of Enterprise just is a bit sticky away. He's got a few tricks this horse. I said afterwards, Trent Buston's going to spell him, so he's got a bit to learn, but he's got a lot of talent, and also back in the field it was just a waste of a run. A couple of the others, including Detroit City, taken just too good, but under the circumstances was never going to get beaten. Mo Mence is a horse. I think it's got a bit of staying talent for the Moody Coleman yard.
Fighting wind of flash feeling for Dan O'Sullivan and Dean Yendall.
Some people have won a lot of money here, boys. $19. It could have been $190, and it wasn't. So it was in the right part of the track, and this horse has had a few tricks and a few trainers, but I think there was a big amount of money on this horse. Liberani, position running on the day. If it was Rail True, he wins. It wasn't Rail True.
All right, Chocolates took out race number 8, and it was Marble 9 in the last. Two of the key black bookers on the day. Ralphie?
Yeah, we'll add to El Soliardo and Bigolino from the last amongst horses who got beaten. The horses who won, just make it nice and easy. Chocolates, too good. Okay,
very quickly, you've been seeing Melbourne very well. What do we expect tomorrow?
I think a big rebound. The weather's going to be horrendous here, boys. So if they're giving a good line offering, I think I'd take the D's because it's going to be a very competitive game in very, very tough conditions.
Racetrack Ralphy at racetrackralphy.com.au. Always great to chat. We'll do it again this week.
Good on you, boys.
Thanks, Ralphy.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Very good morning, Bradley.
Morning, Marty. Good morning, Shortte. Good to be with you, boys. Why would you want a $72 molly when you can have meatloaf every Sunday?
Yeah, exactly. You never go hungry. That is for sure. You never go hungry.
Oh, dear me.
We're going to go straight to the text line. Lisa Vallenbrook has sent a beauty in. Morning, boys, and Sophie. Chris Scott, another late change. Bailey Smith out with hamstring awareness. Guys, 2 players going hard at the contest. Stewart goes low and braces for the perfect contact and executes the perfect bump, which years ago the fans would have been applauding. Stewart didn't get off the ground, no head contact. Anderson head hits the ground, and it turns out no concussion. Wasn't even a free kick. If Alex Pearce got out of it without even a fine, Tom Stewart should be free to play next week. Brad, besides turning up, what do the Eagles need to do to win against North? Take care, enjoy the day, have a great week. That's a great text from you, Lisa. One of your best.
Yeah, it is. Look, I've got to tell you, I did that game last night down at the Cattery, Shorty, and I spotted it a week ago. He actually did that in the Eagles game, Bailey Smith.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
90 seconds to go.
Correct.
He grabbed at the hammy.
Yep.
And he decided, and he looked at the bench, and they just said, stay out there. And he stayed out there. He ran through the game, with that 90 seconds to play. They couldn't get beat. They did a little simple test before the game. We were there an hour and a half before, Shorty, and you knew he wasn't playing straight away, which was, again, I don't know why they keep playing these games. But anyway, that's okay. The bump on, look, I agree with Lisa's summation of that. But I want to ask the question, why in the hell did he do it in the first place? I mean, it was the 23-minute mark of the last quarter. They were 4 goals up. He didn't need to do it. Did he have other options? Yes, he did. Did he hit him in the head? No, he didn't. But the whiplash effect was unbelievable, Shorty, because what happened was Noah Anderson was coming for the ball, went down to pick it up, accidentally hit him on the toe. The ball pushed forward about 1.5 meters, Marty, and then he runs past the ball and takes him out. And it just didn't need it to be done. So, from my point of view, it has to go to the tribunal because they've got to work their way back, Shorty, if that makes sense.
Wow, okay.
I'll send it to the tribunal, and I reckon then they can defend it, and they're most likely to get off. But I think we need to know because we saw the week before with Redmond coming back with the flight of the ball, Marty, and Archie stopped. Fortunately, Redmond didn't take the mark; otherwise, it looked like a goog. So just keep an eye on that one. But I think
that's a really interesting one. Brad, I'm happy to step in here. I am of a different opinion. I just think this is one that if this gets rubbed out, then you may as well come out and declare that the bumps are legal in the game, because I think, in fairness, this was perfectly executed. He didn't go high. If they do take it further, I fear for anybody wanting to bump heading forward, because I don't think he could have done much more than what he did. The point you raise is right, Brad, when you say that he had other alternatives, but he opted to bump. And the golden rule for me for players in today's world is, if you choose to bump and you get them high, you know you're going to be in trouble. But if you choose to bump and you don't get them high, then for me, you should be able to get away without having the tribunal have to step in.
The medical report will be an interesting one, because he went off the hospital. Now, at this stage, we haven't seen released whether they believe he's sustained concussion or not. But the other thing is, they don't play next week anyway. You know what I mean? So that might be, I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate. As I say, the only thing, why did he do it? And he didn't have to do it. Ran past the ball. And the other thing, that it was Noah Anderson wasn't ready for it. He was completely, and because he was entitled to think, oh, well, the ball's gone away. I've got to stand back up to go after it again. But as I say, on my initial one, I thought, oh, gee, why would you even involve yourself in that? And as I say, but I think to clear everybody's mind, that's why I'm suggesting I think it'll go to the tribunal, and we'll work our way backwards so everybody knows. And that'll give you the definitive answer whether you can bump or not. Because 5 years ago, 15 years ago, that would have been a great bump. We would have loved that.
Well, I still love it last night. The game has changed to that point of duty of care, as getting to that point where what you just explained then.
Yep. Outlaw the bump. Just
get rid of it then. Just get rid of it now. They'll get rid of it in 10 years or 5 years, however long it'll take.
Yeah.
Just do it now.
Yeah, I agree.
Put us out of our misery.
I agree with that. That's what they need. They need to test it, and I think we all agree that he should be playing next week. But what I'm saying is that they're going to have to work it out for everybody to see. It's like the Pearce one. It's like, there's so many different ways. You see Pearce get off when you thought, oh, that doesn't look good, and then the following week Meek does what he does, and he gets off straight before he even started. It's bizarre, and that's going to be the problem for Greg Swan. That's his first charter now. Let's hope they're talking to him
let's hope they're talking to him by the phone at the moment before he starts, because if it's left to them in there at the moment, you know what'll happen. But at least you would think if Swanee gets in there, he'll add a bit of sense to the discussion.
Well, let's have some common sense applied to all football matters. That's all we really ask as fans of the game, Bradley. Common sense applied across the board. It's a really good starting point.
Well, the buzzword is matrix, and they've got to add another box. And what is intentional, and what is careless, and whatever, or an accident, a football incident. That's what they've got to add, because that's where they don't have it. Michael Christian is handcuffed because when he has to tick a box, the one he wants to tick's not there. So you've got, which is common sense, but that one's not. That doesn't appear on the box ticking. So that's what they've got to change that, and change it sooner rather than later.
The whole 1 or 3 is folly. It's complete garbage. Correct. Because the amount of time, the one that I feel most sorry for this year is Paul Curtis. So it hasn't just rolled back on him. It's actually affected quite negatively North Melbourne as a football club. So let's go back to when that happened. He was one of the leading goal scorers in the competition at the time. His confidence was sky high, playing the best football of his career. All of a sudden, he's under the media spotlight. He's then told that you have to go and have 3 weeks away. He picks up a little niggle while he's training hard through that period. He hasn't come back the same player since. So it's the knock-on effect for him and their football club has been massive. And for me, that was just complete overkill. Maximum 1 week, Bradley. They need to fix this sooner rather than later, so that poor old Christian's in the chair saying, well, this is a 1 week outcome, but I can only give you none or 3.
Yeah, correct. And that's what I'm saying. And just be wary, as I say, look, it's only, I know you've watched it 100 times, everybody has. It's not, he doesn't hit him in the head. It's the whiplash action that does the damage, and that when the immediate contact, he's already half out before he hits the ground, Marty. That's why he hit his head. Because normally, if you're stunned like that, Marty, or you're not, sorry, Shorty, if you're not, you would normally put your arms out to break the fall. That just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Anyhow. So that suggests to me that he has had concussion, because I reckon he was out.
Okay, so Hardie has said in his media conference that he's definitely passed the concussion test, and it was the bunker or the arc who had he said he didn't have a problem with his concussion, or their doctors didn't, but the ARC asked him to run the test, and that was passed okay. And he said the problem is in his chest, and he thinks he's going to be okay. And normally Hardwick, if he's got a beef, he uses those press conferences as good as anyone.
Yeah.
And he was there defending. He was defending Stewart more than trying to go for him.
Yeah, I agree. Look, as I say, but there's always the delayed reaction to concussion, etc. That's what we've got to... He might have passed this one. They did ask him, Marty, and he said, where are you? He said, I'm at the Gabba, and the score's 3 for 208. But they passed that. You know what I mean? So they figured that was it was to give it a tick for that.
Oh dear. Well, let's have a look at some footy and get away from maybe some of this politics and tribunal stuff. It's not my favourite part of the game, it must be said. We'll go to the Adelaide-Brisbane game if we can, Bradley.
Yeah.
This was a game of football, and we've said it a number of occasions this morning. Bad kicking is bad football, and Brisbane 8-15-63 lost to Adelaide 10-8-68, 23 scoring shots to 18, but you need to make the most of your opportunities when they arrive. Couple of things to come out of this game. Brisbane, to me now, it's really clear-cut with them. If they have got a challenge on their hands where they're playing against a side that are a potential threat to them in the finals, they turn up and they play football. If they are playing a run-of-the-mill side, they do what they have to do. They switch through the gears, on, off, do what they have to try and win the games, get in, get out of the place. Out of this, I'm pretty keen that Adelaide are very much up to the best sides in the competition when they play to their best. They look to be up against it. They spotted Brisbane a head start. They found a way to manufacture goals. They, despite it, granted that it was quite a wet night, but their defence has picked up so much from where they were the first month of the season. That's really clear to the eye, and they still have got a forward line that's got a whole lot of gunpowder. I've liked the way that Adelaide have come on this season.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I tipped the Lions, and I thought that because Adelaide, I was worried about what they'd beaten, and you can only play who you play, and they needed to take a scalp, and good on them, and they did that, which was really, really good. But you're right, Shorty, when the weather was there, the Lions controlled. When the weather breezed up a bit and got a bit better there, I thought Adelaide Crows were able to nail those 4 or 5 quick ones. And yeah, you're right. I mean, unless you're 10, your cliches, you can roll them out. If you don't deserve to win if you don't kick a goal in the last quarter, unless you're 10 in front. And the Lions just could hit the side of a barn door. And good on Fagan. He played it pretty well. His post-match press conference, he was up and about. He knows that, meet them at the MCG, and I think they fancy themselves really well. But at least Adelaide have now signalled that they are a genuine top 6 side. Now, how high they get is up to them. They've got another test next week at UTAS against Hawthorn. But to my eye, and that's only mine, everyone's got an opinion. They're after round 12 or 13. I think the Brisbane can rise to the challenge with more to come. I think they're a better side than Adelaide, but well done to Adelaide on the night.
Well, they'll look at it as one that got away, that is for sure, Brisbane. And Adelaide, Nixie said it after the game, well, it's about time we had a bit of luck in a close one, and good luck to them as well. He made the changes at Sydney, he got some good cattle back, and they just grew in confidence after Richmond were missing goals they should have got early, and I think the Tigers... I went through, Brad. Richmond have got quite a few players playing well in the twos. Like Lafau now has played 3 or 4 games, and there's some experienced players down there. I think it might be time to bring a few back because a few of those young blokes look like they might have just hit the wall at this stage.
Well, yeah, even though they're young and they're virile and you'd think they'd be able to last. I mean, they do have ups and downs and they do have troughs. And well done to Coxie and well done to the Sydney Swans. They really didn't let them in. It was a substandard performance collectively by Richmond yesterday. I think that's fair to say. I think the coach acknowledged that and good on him. But you're right, Marty. You're in a position now where some of the boys get a bit tired and they're not just quite up running on top of the ground, and they're getting beat up and out-muscled and out-hunted and all of those things that you'd suggest. So, yeah, they've got to just keep flipping the list and flipping the magnets and getting a few in and a few out. But it was a much-needed win for the Sydney Swans, and it's not job done. There's still a long, long, long way to go for them too. But, yeah, Richmond disappointing, and that can happen, as we say, with a young team.
Onto the Geelong Gold Coast clash there last night, Bradley. It was the Cats 9-7-61 over a Gold Coast 5-7-37. It wasn't two sides that can be really entertaining. I know that the conditions probably didn't sort of help on the night, but it wasn't as exciting as I was potentially hoping for going into this game. There was one player that basically separated the two sides, and that was Tyson Stengel last night. He had 4 shots on goal. He kicked all 4 of them, and we've talked about how important accuracy is in football. Here's a guy that isn't having his best season, it must be said. He's been well below par for the majority of this season, but Geelong have carried him, they've cuddled him, they've looked after him, they've let him know that your time will come, and last night was his turn to shine and show up, and his 4 goals were crucial in a game where there are only 14 in the night.
No doubt, and goals win matches, we know that. Look, and I was happy to argue with Max Holmes and others, robust discussion after the game, because Damien Hardie refuses to respect the opposition.
Yeah.
And what I mean, and Kris Scott went out there last night and said, righto, I am going to send, and this is where I sort of trapped poor old Max. I said, Max, you're the one that got off the chain tonight. I said, because, they seem to, we know that, he said, some clubs do tag Shorty and some clubs don't, Marty. And I said, well, answer me one question, Max. I said, did O'Connor start outside the square on the halfback flank? He wasn't in for the centre bounce downs, but once the ball was bounced, did he go to Anderson? He said, yes, he did. I said, well, there you go. That's what they were doing. And they also sent the best tackler in the business, Atkins, to Ralph. And so it's good enough for Geelong. Why isn't it good enough for Damien Hardie? I know he's won 3 flags at Richmond, but he hasn't got the best team anymore.
Yeah.
He hasn't got Dusty Martin. You know what I mean? So he's got to pay him respect. And the bloke who got off the chain last night was Holmes. He had it 12 times in the third quarter when the game was up for grabs, Shorty.
40 in total. You can't tell
You can't tell me the bells and whistles weren't going off in the box.
Yep.
You've got to pay respect. You've got to make, whether you do or you don't on a regular basis, you have to do that and adapt in the game. And it cost them. They lost ground in the third quarter, and they never really made it up after that. It was an underwhelming game, I've got to say. I was expecting more as well. The conditions were a little bit slippery and slidey. Again, like Brisbane, when the ball was wet, it was the Cats. When the ball got dry, it was the Suns.
One quick one. I just love the way you use Blickarves as a rucking with Stanley.
Yep.
And the other thing about Geelong is I love the way they can win differently. Like it was in the wet, as you just said, Brett. There's other ways to win for Geelong compared to other teams.
One other point that I wanted to add in there, Bradley.
They dominated inside in the first quarter, Geelong, and then they went to the outside, and that's when they got to work, the Gold Coast Suns, in the second quarter, when they started to win the inside ball and the clearances. That's when they started to get going. They used Dangerfield. Collins was fantastic. I mean, Dangerfield really was inactive. He couldn't get near it, and he didn't play it smart. He was almost playing it. He was trying to drag Collins out, but mate, he stood in the corridor, Shorty. I said, mate, have another conversation with Kris Scott. Okay, Danger, if you're going to take him down the last line of defence, that's fine, but don't stand in the corridor. Stand in the pocket. Bring him out of the way, because he was playing an enormous game of football. Mac Andrew and Collins won last night against Dangerfield and Cameron. Cameron. They didn't score.
Correct.
Neither of them scored.
No goals between the two big dogs of the forward setup for Geelong. The other point I wanted to make, so Max Holmes does hurt you. He's got 40, but there's 2 other of the most and statistics have shown over the last 3 or 4 years with one of these 2 in particular, but the other one's really jacked up this year. Brian Myers and Sean Manor are 2 of the most creative and damaging players forward of centre in the competition right now. Myers 26 disposals on the night, Manor 23. Again, Bradley, there's cracked windscreens going off right, left and centre in that coach's box if you're allowing those 2 guys to get that much football, because they are 2 of the better players at lowering the eyes and actually finding a target inside forward 50.
Well, Myers and Close in particular, Manor had a job, and his job was, it was hard to see on the box, but he was a defensive forward on Rioli and or Noble. They had no impact last night. Those boys
12,
charge off
12 for Noble. It's his lowest for the season.
That's what you couldn't see, because I kept saying it in the broadcast. I said, hang on, Hardwick's got to get creative here. He's got to do something. I said, they're actually playing defensive forwards. But you're right, Shorty and Marty. They were hurting them on the way back because they went through them. They said, well, mate, that's one part of the job, for them not to get the ball and run it off half-back flank. But, boys, go out of your way to give it to them on the way back. And that's exactly what they did. And, Myers was outstanding. I mean, he's got that very eccentric kicking style.
Jeez, it works.
Geez, he opens up the game with the angles that he can pull off.
The other game at Monica, and well done to Port, off the bye, brought some players in. Well done to Kenny, 9-12-66, beat Giants 7-8-58. If you reckon the other two games are bad, this was a stinker.
Putrid.
Absolute stink. I still can't believe the amount of turnovers I witnessed in this game.
They're in a world of hurt, the Giants. I just can't get it. I just cannot get a handle on them. I mean, to go down to Geelong and win 5 times in a row, then to not turn up against Freo, and then to find another way, and then to go to Monica, which has been a fortress for them. They don't get beat there too often. And, mate, it was just a nothing game. Jeez, it was a nothing game. It was all I was with you. I couldn't believe
watch it.
And, it's really narrowed down. It's just given a little bit of a sniff to some of those sides outside the 8. I thought there was 9 sides that could make it, but depending on what happens tonight with Essendon and Carlton, they're still – the Giants are a real worry for me. They're no longer – I think we all had them in the top 4. I think it's fair to say, boys. I think we've got to backtrack a bit and sort of
100%.
Say, not even sure they're going to make the 8 now.
No, spot on.
The way they're playing.
Yeah, you're all over that. Toby Green going down is a big blow for the Giants as well there. Now, Sir Swamp Thing is a fellow I follow on social media. There's generally very good at coming up with statistics and information as it comes through. Last night he posted, ignoring short quarters of 2020, for days with 3+ games, 7th of June 2025, yesterday, is the lowest scoring day in the AFL era. An average team score of 55 points. Last time it was lower, it was June 10, 1989. Wow. So that backs up what we were thinking, that it was an ugly day of football to watch. Let's hope we've got some better stuff to look forward to this afternoon, Bradley. We've got the first game down there in Bunbury.
I can't wait for this. I'm really pleased about this. I mean, it's great to take the football to the people down in the southwest. It's outstanding. Hands Oval's got a great record. We know they met there in the pre-season and all that sort of stuff. I don't have an issue with this one, Shorty, because they're obviously trying to fill their boots, North Melbourne, with the money they're getting for doing it. It's a non-home ground advantage to either team. I know it's in Western Australia, but it's not a home ground for the Eagles, and it's not a home ground for the North Melbourne Kangaroos. So we've got an even contest. Next week is just an absolute gimme to Fremantle, and they should be kicked in the pants. They should have played that one at the MCG against Collingwood, and they would have got exactly the same result without flying across the country. But anyway, I digress. Look, this should be a terrific game. And I think Lisa put that on her SMS. But, the Eagles have to stay in the game for 4 quarters. They can't stay for 3. They've got to stay for 4. For longer periods, and we saw a few green shoots from them last week. I know Geelong only did what they needed to do, put the afterburners on and went whoosh, and they blew them off by 7 goals. But this is North Melbourne. This is not Geelong. So they've really got to go there, Lisa, with an attacking brand of football like they did last week. They're harassing and they're corralling and they're 1%ers, and stay in the game. Be close. Getting into that last quarter. Be closer than they were last week. And then it's game on, I reckon, in the last quarter. This game will go deep. And, I'm leaning slightly towards the West Coast because I'm not totally convinced on North. They're going to be there for a week. Sometimes that can affect their psyche of players when they're just hanging around and not doing as much as they normal routines that they should be. So I think the Eagles will be outsiders, Shorty, and not largely, but I think but I'd be looking for, if I'm playing the same game multi, I'd be looking to step around the result and maybe just go for the disposals, goals, and whatever along that lines.
Boys, just quickly, North Melbourne, should they be under a little more scrutiny than what they are? They are currently, right, 11th. Yes. They're sitting 17th on the table with 2 wins, 8 losses and a draw. The only side below them are West Coast. Richmond, who most people said at the start of this year will struggle to win much more than a game or 2 above them on the ladder. I just think that they've got away with a lot for a long time. It's high time that they start showing something. If you're a North fan right now, you're entitled to be going, how long do we wait for? We've had all these high draft picks. We got the big name coach come into the place, and there's just been nothing.
Well, with the Hawk saga, he got a mulligan the first year, and that should have stopped. That's got to stop now because if you look across it, and the game's not played on paper; it's played on grass. We know that. But if you look at them on paper, it's not bad. They've got a half a dozen right there that read pretty well. More than what West Coast have got. With LDU and Simpkin,
highly touted.
Nick Larkey's been one of the top forwards.
Yeah, these sort of guys, and then you've got those young blokes. Sheasel sort of plateaued a bit. These are McCurcher. They've got a bit to work with. So you're right, Shorty. It is got. Don't worry. The pressure valve is being tipped up slowly but surely. They don't want to lose this one. I think it'll ramp right up. If West Coast can get them today, and they may do that, I reckon you'll see a backlash on North Melbourne. They'll be coming for them.
Other game today, you said, Brad, it's going to be wet over there. Carlton play Essendon. The Blues, they've been specking around Essendon, 285 into 275. This is the Essendon back line. If Essendon win this tonight, then you've got to give them a big tick. McGrath, Laverty, right? Archie Roberts, Zach Johnson, Luamon Luai and Jackson Pryor. Those four players wouldn't have played two games together. And you're talking back line.
Defence.
Back line. That's where you need stability.
Look, I can tell you we're going to have nearly 25 mils of rain throughout the day, and it's going to be it's 10 degrees maximum today. So it's got a bit of both. So
really
this is not about this is not about who's
150 and a half. The under's looking all right, Bradley.
That's a good price.
Yeah, you get on that. It's not about who's playing, Marty. It's going to be a game of wills. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be who wants it most, and it doesn't matter how much talent you've got. It's what you're going to be prepared to put on the line and have a red hot crack.
That's the case. There's a chance.
It's fun. Yeah, they're a real chance. I'm happy. I think if you, what are they, 290, something like that?
275. Yep.
Be worth a throw at the stumps, I reckon.
Quick one from Richard, then we've got to get cracking. Have noticed along the games when the umpires throw the ball up, there's no height consistency. Some throw it 10 metres, others barely 3 metres. Is there a directive as to how high the ball needs to go, Brad?
No, just throw it up straight. That's what they rely on, Marty. That's what they care about the height. Just throw it up straight. All right. And the boundary, and they're good old boundary umpires. They got one job. One job.
Sunday saviour, Brad.
Going to the sunny coast today. Race 8, number 1, Termagant, first up. Going to strap the kid on and then hang on. $3.80. And then race 10, number 6, Streak of Lightning. Streak of Winning. $2.30. Can't read my own writing. And then at Swan Hill to come us home, the carnival there. Race 9, number 13, Colours Our World. $1.60. Yendel will finish off the carnival there. So race 8, number 1 at Sunny Coast, Termagant, $3.80. Race 10, number 6, Streak of Winning, $2.30. And Swan Hill race 9, number 13, Colour Our World, $1.60. $13.61. And
beautifully done.
Back them individually and put them all together, because there's nothing like meatloaf on a Sunday night.
Thank you very much, Brad, for Retrovision and Loans 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Frankie Lee's a champion. Don't worry about that. All the best, boys.
Thanks, Brad.
On the Aftermath, you're listening to Marty Young and David Shortte right here on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
She's a dealer. Then Churchill's Choice, a clear encore. Amplified, move it out, third last of the bend. And then came Mystic and Sun Worshipper. They flattened for home and set sail for the Judge of the Oaks. Shangri-La Impact led the way from Yu Wang emerging. Up on the outside was Ella Hazel. Philly is struggling. Here's Panito with a big baldy face thundering down the centre of the track. Churchill's Choice running on fairly. Yu Wang on the inside, tackled by Panito on the outside. Then came Ella Hazel, Ben and Jill. Yu Wang on the inside, Panito the outside, stride for stride, desperate go. Here comes the post photo. I'd say Yu Wang from Panito and Benadryl.
Yes, it was Yu Wang winning the Group 1 Seven Oaks there yesterday, Queensland. Kris Lees, the trainer of Yu Wang, joins us on the Aftermath this morning. Hi, Kris.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning to you, Kris. Great to have you on the program. Congratulations. That was a superb performance handed in by Yu Wang and Tommy Berry. Excellent ride as well. Tell us a little bit about how the post-race went, Tommy's thoughts after the race and how you're feeling this morning.
Yeah, no, very happy this morning, of course. And importantly, the fillies pulled up well from yesterday's win. Look, she put the writing on the wall in Sydney. She ran third in the Adrian Knox and third in the... or fourth in the Knox and then third in the Oaks. After that, we went to Gosford just for a tick-over run at a mile where we dropped back to a mile, and she was terribly disappointing. She finished last. So we were scratching our head a little, and I suppose any other time of year we may have just went to the paddock. But the rider that day was adamant that she's in need of a tongue tie, which we applied for the Roses. Even for the Roses, it was a bit of a challenge. We had all these floods here in the North Coast, which is our route to get to the Gold Coast, so we had to go inland, and she spent an extra 8 hours on the float just to get to our Queensland base. So she's done a wonderful job. It's been a really long preparation and culminating in a great win for her.
Did she pull up after the Roses like she needed that run because she loomed and then sort of didn't finish the race off?
Yeah, she did, and well, it was twofold. She got very stirred up pre-race, which is often an indication that the horse may have come to the end of her preparation. I was concerned watching a parade. She was very hot and on edge, but she still raced well to a point. I thought, we discussed it post-race, I just thought Tommy presented her a touch early, and he was of the same opinion. She's only got a very short sprint. And I think he learned his lesson there. He really contained her yesterday, albeit she had clear air from the top of the straight, but he was able to just contain her and keep something intense for late.
So have you had to cuddle her a bit all the way through then, trying to get her back, fit for the Oaks, the Queensland Oaks, trying to peak her twice in a couple of months, and you've had all this going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, very much so. And she's a lighter frame filly. There's not a great deal of her. Our team at the Gold Coast, our stable, they've done a wonderful job with her. Get her up to the beach. She went about 3 times post the Roses, and she only had one serious gallop on the grass on Tuesday. And I actually flew one of my riders up from here just to see where she is, what they thought of her. So there's a fair bit goes into it behind the scenes, but it all worked out okay.
Yeah, it is great to hear that side of the story as well. It's not always straightforward. There are some horses that have a clean run at it, but there's often stories behind the story. And now you've got a very valuable filly in the backyard there, a Group 1 winner, and clearly she's going to be very valuable down the track from a breeding proposition. But what happens from a racing perspective now with you, Wang?
Yeah, look, the reality with 3-year-old fillies when they win these Oaks-type races, they've got to take that next step to take on the older, more established horses. And having won a Group 1, well, the rating puts her into that upper echelon of races. So under no illusions there. So I often find with these type of Oaks fillies, I keep a pretty lid on things over the spring, maybe target a race like the Matriarch Stakes at the back end of the Flemington Carnival for mares only. And hopefully then they can mature with a good spring break and you see the best of them in the autumn and the winter. But they've got to be pretty special to take that next step. Some do, but just whether yesterday's race is the form lines for your Caulfield Cups, I'd just probably question a little.
Yeah, no, and it's great to be realistic and honest with where you think the horse might be. But so off to the paddock now for you, Wang, and just gently through into the spring?
Yeah, that'll be the play with a couple of runs into a Matriarch Stakes. As I said, that's, I think, the last Saturday of the Flemington Carnival. So probably two runs leading into it, and that'll do it for the prep.
Hey, Kris, our computers have gone down here in the studio at the moment. I've got a text off the text line. Ask Kris about his winner, Race 8 Newcastle yesterday, part-owned in the West. So I can't get...
Brave call. Yeah, brave call. Good win. The TV went off when it passed the line where I was in Brisbane. I thought he might have got beat. Lightly raced horse. He's only had 2 Australian starts. He's really good on his first start over this on Scone Cup Day. Then he beat some old established horses yesterday. It was only...
You there, Kris?
Yeah, got you.
Beautiful. Yeah, Sorry, mate, we just dropped you there for a moment. But you were saying, the TV went off after Brave Call won, and you weren't sure whether it had won.
Couldn't tell if he won, so the result up a bit later. But it was a good effort. He beat some older established horses. It was only his second career win, so he's got plenty of upside. We'll probably give him a chance at city level next time around, and I think in 6 months' time we'll have a really nice horse.
Lock Eagle was a nice winner on the day as well for you there at Ramwick. Finished its race off with great gusto.
Yeah, he's an old stable favourite. He's a winner of close to $2 million in prize money. Winning races like the Villiers or now the Ingham. And he got a lovely ride from young Ben, our apprentice, presented him at the right time, and he let down well. He'll go to the McKell Cup in 3 weeks' time.
I thought Brudenell was a nice run from the wide draw there yesterday as well, on speed throughout, and wasn't beaten far in the end.
No, he's been really consistent and brave all preparation. He's carrying 59 every time he goes around in these stakes races, and he's gone down narrowly in 2 of his last 3. We'll probably try him in a little bit stronger grade in. We'll take him to Brisbane for the Moreton Cup in 3 weeks' time, where he just might get a little bit of weight relief. And
how's the rest of this Brisbane Carnival look for your team?
Yeah, I thought Infancy ran really well in the last race yesterday. She was back in the field, which was very hard to do yesterday. She got home well. She might make a presence felt in a race like the Tats Tiara in 3 weeks.
Kris, always great to chat. Well done on your Group 1 victory yesterday.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure. Cheers.
Thanks, Kris.
Yeah, working hard behind the scenes there. So next week you've got the Stradbroke.
Yes.
And also the JJ Atkins, the 2 big Group 1s there. That's for the 2-year-olds, Shorty.
It's great, Marty, this time of year. Obviously, there's challenges in relation to the weather and tracks and the like, but Queensland have always put their hand up for this time of the year. That's their time to have the good horses up there. And it does help you through. Obviously, we all love the big autumn and spring races, particularly in Melbourne and Sydney, and our carnival over here from a selfish perspective, the real top liners. But there's still an awful lot of really nice horses that are up there strutting their stuff at the moment. We saw Adelaide have their little patch. Now we're up to Queensland. And before you know it, we sort of then have a bit of a quiet month everywhere, really. And then all of a sudden the horses are back in work, and we're into August, and there's good horses reappearing, and the process rolls out once again. But really
interesting and very quick, because we're going to talk a bit of greyhound chasing Winter Cup heats last night. We'll replay them, but it was interesting his thoughts on the oaks, because I was thinking, hang on, Panito might be a young filly on the way up. Benagil, we know where she's well exposed for her deeds through South Australia, and she was very good there again. And then I reckon that clump behind them aren't bad either.
Yeah, that's correct.
That horse I've been backing, Churchill's Choice, again.
It's very good again.
Good again. I just don't reckon she stays. I'd love her back at 16, 18, 2,000 tops.
Yeah.
And a new jock, they've been very patient with him.
Jesus, covered some ground over the last few runs. My goodness.
Yeah. Okay, last
Keep
night.
it in your black book, though, Marty.
Yeah, I know I'm staying.
No, like for listeners that have missed on the way through, you've probably saved your Dinas on the way through this time, and you might be hitting the jackpot next preparation.
Winter Cup heats. Here's the first of them.
Racing. Bezecchi came out fairly, showing early speed was Spooky Hook, and driving across was Firelighter from out wide. Firelighter in search of lead and gets there. Up on the inside, Shy Emoji rails through to second. Following it through, Bezecchi's nice and close, and then followed by Maylata. In behind them, Premium Star out wide. Crooked Kelly well back. Spooky Hook, Maximum Kuna. Off the back they go. Out in front was Firelighter out by 3. Bezecchi runs on, then followed by Shy Emoji on the corner. Firelighter, here comes Bezecchi. Bezecchi over the top of Firelighter. Got up in the last stride. Bezecchi's just won from Firelighter. Third in Shy Emoji, then followed by Maylata, Crooked Kelly.
Okay, Quinella here for Paul Stewart. Bezecchi beats Firelighter, Shy Emoji and Maylata. Now, do they all qualify into the final, first 4?
Top 4 go through, Marty, to next week. And the sort of win that we're used to seeing from Bezecchi, a get-back, run-on dog. He has got a very big motor, and he just takes a little bit of time to wind up, and last night he got there in the nick of time. It's always a bit of a heart and mouth scenario when you back this greyhound because of its racing pattern. But last night it was able to arrive in the nick of time for the punters that got involved there. And Paul Stewart, absolute gun trainer, first and second over the line. He had the on-speed dog with Firelighter running really quick sectionals, run down the last hop. It ran 29.57 in defeat, but it's early split there last night, 5.45. We'll see it leading plenty of races. Shy Emoji was good back in third, finishing the race off well, and Maylata, the recent WA Derby winner, was back in 4th. So Bezecchi, Firelighter, Shy Emoji and Maylata through to next week's final.
Heat 2 of the Winter Cup. This was a win.
Racing. Sunset Hornet began okay, showing early speed was Rare Speed, the favourite west on Sydney's last early. Sunset Capone up on the inside, drives through, takes the lead from Rare Speed to second. Up behind them next of all was Kryptonite, then followed by Wise Barra. Well back was West on Sydney, making ground around the outside of Rapido Jedi. Sunset Hornet second last. Bungee Man's last of all off the back. Sunset Capone the leader. Out by 2 lengths in second place was Rare Speed, taking ground off the leader. And also running on was West on Sydney. What a run. What a star. West on on Sydney, came from last and he got up to score, running away. Second, maybe Sunset Capone or Rare Speed out wide, then followed by
First of all, home here, West on Sydney beats Sunset Capone, Rare Speed and Wise Barra. So Kris Hells qualifies 2 out of this heat.
Indeed, yeah. Given the fact that this dog had to come from last, to still run 29.64 was a superb performance. Sunset Capone led for most of the race, 29.78. Rare Speed on speed in 29.81, and Wise Barra appreciates a wide draw. It ran back in 4th, but West on Sydney, very promising greyhound, huge motor, but it's the early box manners that are an issue. Very similar to Bezecchi in that regard. They both get back and rely on luck to get into their races. The final for next week, Mylata's come up with box 1, Bezecchi in 2, Firelighter in 3, West on Sydney in 4, Wise Barra in 5, Rare Speed in 6, Shy Emoji 7, Sunset Capone in 8. So you've got the speed of Mylata in 1, Firelighter in 3, Wise Barra 5, Rare Speed 6. Those greyhounds will all be looking to get involved early doors. From the draw, Mylata looks to get a nice run with Bezecchi, not necessarily electric on its outside in the early stages. It could certainly show up. But Bezecchi and West on Sydney, they'll both need luck, Marty, but they are the 2 dogs that if they sit handy down the back, they're always going to be charging home late. Should be a ripper final there. The Winter Cup next week.
Okay, rounding it out, the aftermath. Michael Gangemi's up next.
Favourite repossession behind those. Manique looks for runs as well, and they're followed further back towards the inside. Clean 'em up, Mean Machine. Art Sessions in front. Repossession finding an opening now and driving through. Repossession dashes through, grabs the lead from Art Session, boots away. Ryan Houston picks up a winner and his first ride in WA. Gets home. Too good Repossession. Much too classy.
He's a nice horse, Repossession. We know that. Michael Gangemi, co-trainer, joins us. Let's talk about it. Hi, Michael. Well done.
G'day, Marty. G'day, Shorty. How are you?
We're going well. Sense of relief when Ryan Houston produced a terrific ride to get this exciting 3-year-old home at Pinjarra yesterday.
Yeah, mate. We took a bit of a punt, bringing him over, but we were never going to start with a 62, and we're just searching for a 3-kilo claimer here in WA. And obviously, when we couldn't get permission for one of those, we had to look east, and we're lucky enough to get our hands on Ryan. He was a name that kept popping up when we spoke to some friends over there, and to get our hands on him, we were stoked. And when he pulled off a ride like that, it wasn't really the ride of a 3-kilo claiming apprentice. He took a pretty tight gap, but once the horse got through, he showed his class.
Credit to you guys for showing the faith in Ryan, and I love the post-race chat. He understood that there was a fair bit of pressure on him and that he had a job to do. And the fact, as you alluded to, that he was prepared to take that gap and be nice and cool. Many other apprentices may well have sort of panicked in that scenario, but he showed plenty of cool. And in the end, it was an absolute gun ride. But you've got to also give a fair bit of credit to this horse, Repossession. As Marty alluded to when we got you on here, this horse has got well above average ability and there's some good things to come.
Yeah, Shorty, thanks, mate. We were so proud of the horse and Ryan for his ride as well. And, we've had a lot of faith in this horse, and we've known his talent levels for a while, but we just wanted to be really patient with him and just taking our time with him. He's never been beaten a trial. He's, was stiff in the Max Simmons. He probably could have won that if he didn't find the trouble he found. And then, pulled up lame after the Placid Arc, and they're his only defeats. So, we know he's got the talent, and he's now really furnished into the complete animal. He's filled out mentally and physically. He's a lot stronger and smarter. And, hopefully now he can really go on with it.
So what was the backstory from this horse? Did you buy him at the sales?
Oh, mate, this is a good story if you've got a few minutes.
Yeah.
This horse, Repossession, I had a large syndicator from the east, I don't want to mention his name, offered to race a horse with us, asked me to pick one out. So I picked one out. I bought it under his name. He then obviously tried to syndicate the horse, and then I obviously educated it, broke it in, did all the work, and then about 12 months later, Magic Millions rang up and said, we need to take it back. And I said, what do you mean? They said, the bloke hasn't paid for it, so it was going to be repossessed.
Wow. And
I had to find some money quick smart, and therefore managed to get a great bunch of lads together, and we managed to secure the horse because we'd done 12 months' worth of work with it.
Yep.
Hence the name Repossession.
Brilliantly named, isn't it?
Standing.
Yep. By Sessions.
Out of Sessions,
Yeah.
by Sessions as well. And therefore, it's amazing this racing caper, how things can turn around because we love the horse. And, we managed to secure him for a great ownership group, and now he's taken us on a journey that, that everyone's absolutely ecstatic with.
Isn't that great? And I mean, how nice to hear a good, happy ending to it, because when you'd put all of the work into this horse, as you'd alluded to, when the phone call first arrived, you must have been thinking, you are kidding me. This could go absolutely straight down the gurgler. But, gee, credit to you and all concerned that you've been able to find a happy medium and some common sense has prevailed.
Well, that's true, Shorty, because I actually paid the bill for the 12 months because he hadn't paid a bill either. So the way it worked out, I was going to be in a bit of barney if I didn't find the money. So, we found the money together and grabbed a great bunch of
Michael.
loyal owners. And,
ashtray, mate. In the ashtray. Come on. Stop it.
No, mate, we found it somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere, mate. Dug up a tin somewhere out the back. So repossession, on the back of Rotislav winning last week, you got some pretty impressive young horses starting to be developed in your stable.
Yeah, mate, we've had a bit of a dry spell the last 12 months. We've been in a massive rebuild phase. I thought I'd be a bit clever, and we tried to breed with our own stallion and so forth, and that set us back a little bit. They weren't coming out Saturday horses, and then you end up holding on to the older ones too long because there's no nice stock coming through, and then eventually you just got to bite the bullet and go, well, I've made a blue here, and start buying some young ones again, and that's what we've done. And I think, the last 4 winners we've had have all been 3 years or younger, so we've got some really nice young stock coming through now, and my concern was that the rebuild was going to take as long as West Coast is, but hopefully it doesn't. So I think we're on the right track.
Where to now for repossession?
We look at 3 weeks as a 78 1200, or we could just go straight in the Bowfine depending on what's around and what the ratings will be. And I'd like to go into the Bowfine, but if it's going to be rating him out of it, then we won't. But we'll just look at who's around, who's going to be going that way, and just weigh up some options because he's probably only got another 1 or 2 in him, and then we'll tip him out. And if he can make the improvement he made from last prep to this prep, even physically, he's just going to continue to develop, and the sessions seem to get better as they get older. So fingers crossed, we'll just take our time. We won't tax him too much, but we've got a big opinion of him, and he can achieve speed and time on the track that our stakes horses could. So we're pretty happy with him, and we'll just look after him.
Beautifully done, MG. All the best.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Michael.
Michael Gangemi there. Shorty, thanks for coming on today.
Absolute pleasure, Marty. I've had a great Sunday. To everybody tuned in, have a wonderful Sunday with your families. Good luck if you're having a